This is the ultimate Fenrir combat guide
that will strike fear in your enemies. A guide that won't be outdated in 5 years' time. Everything here will stand the test of time. And we're not going to waste time reading all the abilities. We're instead going to immediately level up your play. Now, let's go Ragnarok.
Unchained.
If your opponent intends to stay and fight you, then keep your Unchained leap to dodge a key ability from your opponent. There are lots of abilities in the game that if you avoid, you are almost guaranteed victory as Fenrir. You are basically using one of your abilities to negate the enemy's ability, but then if you land on that enemy as well, you've effectively used one of your abilities, whilst they've ineffectively used one of theirs. Ymir's will almost always freeze you on sight, and anyone that has a jump, just save yours as a counter jump. You get the idea. Generally, keep your Unchained leap ready for when the enemy tries to escape from you. That way, you can follow them when they jump or dash away, so you can continue your ravenous assault. So if you're coming in for a gank, try walking up to the enemy rather than immediately jumping on them. Otherwise, they'll get away. Waiting for the enemy to jump is one thing, but you may be able to force the enemy to jump or dash away by using your ultimate. It's only natural for the weak to try and escape the hunter, so be ready to leap after them once you drop them. After jumping on someone, get that one basic attack in. Some players may jump and then immediately brutalize, which means you miss out on some optimal damage. If you don't plan on brutalizing, then you also want to start moving in the direction your opponent is likely to go. Get in their way. The more you can body block, the more basic attacks you can get in before they get out of range. As Fenrir, you do have multiple ways to disengage. Unchained is a great way to get out of harm's way, but you know, there are times where you just might want to all in. Say, if you're feeling playful with Hecate's portals. Or you just gosh darn hate Loki so damn much. Try to hold on to your Unchained as your main way out, unless you know you'll be able to safely exit using Brutalize, Ragnarok, Blink, Walking, or some other active item. You know this well. With the power of 5 runes, your Unchained will render your foe immobile. If they stand amid dangers, like these swirling tornadoes, why not make them stand in it a little longer?
Brutalize.
Keep things simple for now. If you are just starting out as Fenrir, try to get one basic attack before and always one basic attack after Brutalize. Make that a goal if you don't already do this, and you will see an improvement. You want to save your Unchained leap or your Brutalize as a gap close when acting as the aggressor. Here, for example, the Unchained was used as a stun. Brutalize was saved in case they tried to zip away with their movement speed increase, and they blinked, and it was not far enough away to escape the Brutalize. Here, we just walk up to Cunnanos knowing they will dash, so we are mentally preloading that action to Brutalize as soon as they do. Knowing what your next move is going to be will increase your performance on the battlefield. You can follow gods when they dash, but not when they jump. Use Brutalize to latch on and cover more ground. Most gods you will have to predict, but Susanoo's Stormcutter dash is quite predictable. Predicting what your enemy will do is hard, but very rewarding. Feel free to brutalize low-health enemies with absolutely no thought whatsoever. It's a free secure kill in most cases, leaving your Unchained to chase or escape, but do have some mercy for fellow SMITE players who are still learning the ropes. Give them a little breathing room. I only intend to spill the blood of the least innocent people. When ganking, if your opponent is far down the lane, starting with Brutalize isn't necessarily bad, since the sooner you use it in a fight, the sooner it will come back off cooldown to use it again. With these lane opponents up against our tower, they have a long way to run back, plenty of time for a second serving of Brutalize. Brutalize does decent area of effect damage, especially if you have 5 runes. It's a great idea to brutalize whenever there is a cluster of enemies, so long as they don't turn around and stun you. You're going to feel tremendous when you rip into multiple squishy targets at the same time. You just have to weigh up getting AoE damage down with the possibility of the enemy interrupting your brutalize. You can follow enemies that are stealthed with Brutalize. You can also use Brutalize to scan if someone is in a bush, though this may change in the future. It's at least worth keeping Brutalize ready against sneaky enemies you suspect may try to flee from your wrath. There is no greater clip than this one to demonstrate why you should brutalize when your opponent tries to pull away from you and not immediately. The enemy Fenrir uses brutalize and I can just basic attack them whilst they do that. And when they try and run, I then brutalize, meaning I got all those basic attacks in and the full brutalize and I followed them. Whereas the only benefit they got was the damage from brutalize. Brutalize can crit. It applies a bunch of items on hit, and Seething Howl stacks with it too, which comes with lifesteal. You can stack up minion waves or use on a camp to restore life between battles, and you get even more lifesteal if you hit enemy gods. And whilst I don't recommend getting loads of lifesteal items on Fenrir, you can regain a lot of health back if you brutalize multiple enemy gods. So go ahead and have fun with that. Lastly, you should level up your Brutalize first, even if you want to go a basic attack build. Seething Howl is a good ability for basic attacks, sure, but early on, you're not going to get those basic attacks reliably on the enemy compared to Brutalize. They'll just move out of range. Also, by the time you max out your Brutalize and then have maxed out your Seething Howl, you'll have a few items with movement speed options, and with those, your basic attacks will become a larger factor. We're not going to go into detail about animation cancelling. The whole point of this guide is to make you a killing machine, not make you smarter. Let's go into practice. You might be tempted to calculate the damage of Brutalize based on just using Brutalize on a target dummy. But you should realize that you can tag a guaranteed basic attack at the end of Brutalize. Include this in your damage calculation. Furthermore, try to basic attack before you brutalize. Once you hear the basic attack connect, immediately brutalize after. So now we have an attack before and after brutalize. Now let's add a basic attack and a Seething Howl before this combo. So, at level 3, with no items, basic attack, Seething Howl, basic attack, brutalize, basic attack. With full runes, we go from 126 damage to 291. And if you can't just walk up to your enemy to get that combo off, you can start with a jump, but preferably don't jump with full runes. You want the runes on the damage, not on the stun. It just so happens that if you jump on an enemy and use Seething Howl, you will get full runes to brutalize with. Now, if we put the strongest items on currently, we can turn a basic brutalize like this, dealing 900 damage. That's still a lot of damage. Add the combo and weave in some powerful active items, and you can see the difference. Then the jump variation starting with no runes. This is all great in a sterile environment, but Brutalize takes time to get off and your enemy won't just sit there and let you brutalize them.
Seething Howl.
With a basic attack focused build, basic attacking with Seething Howl is going to be better than using Seething Howl to enhance your Brutalize. This is because Brutalize has a fixed spacing between attacks. So if you have a load of attack speed, you aren't using that attack speed if you are brutalizing. This means you may want to treat Brutalize as a second smaller jump to close the gap, and even cancel Brutalize so that you can begin basic attacking again for more damage. The advantage of focusing on basic attack damage is that you are less reliant on Brutalize being off cooldown. Take for example in this clip, dodging Thanatos' scythe with a jump and then a Brutalize is silenced, but I had my trusty Dagger of Frenzy to just wail on the enemy with.
You may be able to build a hybrid attack damage build with defensive items, but SMITE's item balance is always changing. The principles, though, are always the same. Focus on basic attacking and use your Brutalize as a way of getting back into melee range rather than using it for damage. Seething Howl has lifesteal on the ability, and when combined with 1 or 2 lifesteal items, you'll feel the difference. If you need health, gather up minions or do a camp, Seething Howl and Brutalize. Brutalize will lifesteal from all nearby enemies. If you activate Seething Howl before brutalizing multiple enemy gods, you'll steal a lot of life. But don't go nuts. Enemies could do more than twice your health worth of damage. You're not unkillable.
Ragnarok.
Fenrir loves fighting near towers. When life gives you jaws, drag your enemies under a tower. Use walls to your advantage with Ragnarok. Stick your enemy between a Ragnarok and a hard place, so they say. It's easy to combo with Fenrir's ultimate. Kukulkan will love you if you pull them under their ultimate. You can also drag people into bad areas of effect, like tornadoes. Time your Ragnarok. Your enemy may have purification beads, but that doesn't mean that they can react fast enough to use them. And also pick your targets carefully. Ares might not be the best choice to ult, but that doesn't mean don't kill Ares. Just try not to pick tanks up whilst they have their ultimate and deliver them into the middle of your team. It's a good way to get your team killed. You can blink whilst you have your ultimate active, and blinking over the wall might just be one better way to isolating your enemy. Sadly though, they did remove the ability to use certain active items, but a change for the overall better. Don't move if you want allies to hit your target in your jaws, or at least move in a predictable way. Running directly to an ally is extremely helpful. And it's fine just to stand still and look at your allies and say, hey, look what I found. Don't forget that Ragnarok also makes you immune to crowd control. If you time this ability so you can use it both defensively and offensively, you win at Fenrir. You can try to disorientate your enemy before you drop them, making them have to find their bearings, which is sort of a hidden crowd control. Ragnarok is very easy to cleanse, but if you join a fight late or save it for later on in a fight, that person might have already used it. You can also just pick targets that don't have purification beads. Well, that's almost everything. Stay tuned for a second video where we'll go over some live combat scenarios with some informal commentary, if you want to enhance your understanding even more, that is. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to support more content like this, I could really use your help. I'm no longer making content for high res. Whether it's just watching a video, lurking in Twitch streams, throwing an Amazon Prime sub, or pledging on Patreon. That one's great. Every little helps, and I don't need much to pay the bills. I'll be making more animated content in the future, hopefully. Thanks to everyone who's supported so far. My name's Anuki. I guess I'm going to play some Fenrir. EP is a Patreon who helps me every day with every single pledge. My pets have food and play. The cats and dogs all thank you. They purr and wag their tails. Your kindness means so much to me. I think I might prevail. Thank you, Nicole, Danny, Eternal Dracana, Morrigains, Brax, Lanta, Snacky, Cinti, Care4, Mad Demon Max, and Zero Gamer. Thank you, everyone.